But here's Paul's story. The moment I gave my life to Christ, I became brand new. I became a brand new person. And if you're here today struggling with something you've done in your past is dogging you, and you struggle to sleep and you try to medicate it, you try to take pills, you try to find something in a bottle, in a needle, in a bed, in a relationship, and it's just not working, give your life to Christ. What on earth have you got to lose? Give your life to Christ. Surrender to Christ. And this is what Paul says. He became a new creation. The old has passed away, the new has come. But I want you to see that even though that happened, and even though he could say to the Galatians, and this is, I'm going to draw a couple of things out of what he said to the Galatians because I think this is beautiful. He said this, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by the faith in or of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. See, Paul could say, the moment I became a Christian, it wasn't just a religious idea. It wasn't that I didn't believe in Santa Claus, now I do. It's not like that. It's something actually happens. Something happens. That the very thing that was embedded in the core of his soul was not only those things taken out, he was given a new soul. Like it's totally new. And this is what I think we need to understand. That I mentioned that Paul probably, and I'm curious that Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament for Pete's sake or for Paul's sake. Paul wrote so much, and yet we have no recollection, no reflection on his father. I find that really odd because we know so much about the other disciples. We know some of their details. In the Gospels, we're taken into Peter's home and we see his mother-in-law is in the home and she's sick and so we get these little family details. And here's Paul with the opportunity to write so much and not one reference, not one mention of his father. And I look at that and go, well, isn't that interesting? Because he's an angry young man. He's an angry young man. He was born about 5 AD. So he would have been some 5 to 9, probably minimum 5, possibly 10 years, up to 10 years younger than Christ. So when he comes into the group of apostles after this, he's a young man. But we know he's an angry young man. He's really angry. He's incredibly impatient. He's got all of these issues that he's trying to deal with. And I wonder if these stem back to his distant relationship with his father. Because for those men who I've met who've had this anger problem, that at the core of it, it's that they've longed for and not had a deep, affectionate, affirming, that's the key word, connection with their father. And daughters get it as well. But here's Paul, and I think it looks like it. So I think what happened when Paul gave his life to Christ, just before that, he was actually reflecting how he saw fathers. Angry, spiteful, impatient, legalistic. And then he gives his life to Christ and the transformation begins. He realizes he's got it wrong and he's got it horribly wrong. The God who created heaven and earth, the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, is none of those things. And he begins to understand who God really is.